Greetings adventurers, and welcome to the Luca Marketplace. Being a strong voice as a veteran player can be something that is appreciated at the table. Even when I became a dungeon master only a few months after getting into the hobby, I had a player who had been playing since the days of Advanced Dungeons & Dragons giving me honest feedback after each session. But there are a lot of cases where I've seen players who consider themselves veterans of the game try to give advice that basically equates to stop having bad taste and play the game how I like it to be played. While you may be able to take their feedback and curate your campaign to have a few things that this player may enjoy, a person that looks at a table full of happy players and tells them they all suck at playing the game because they aren't having fun the right way is not a player that I want to have at my table. And I think you'll know exactly what I mean when you hear today's treasure that goes by the name Grunkalina, first of her name, big bad evil guy, destroyer of games, hater of ideas, and mother of games. But before I go any further, I wanted to give D&D Dice a shout out, my favorite dice shop and where half of my paycheck goes to every month. They've got a lot of options, including their original 11-piece dice sets that they call the King of Crits series. Be sure to use the code Goblin to support the channel at dnddice.com, or you can just click the link down in that video description and it'll be added when you check out with your favorite dice. As an edgelord myself, my favorite collections are the Plague Doctor and Blood Hunter 11-piece sets, which I use alongside their Tomb of the Lich dice tower. Anyways, back to the video. Sit down and buckle up, buckos. Keep your pearls ready and nearby to clutch, because today we hear the tale of Grunkalina. This is a slow burn, so bear with me and every chair or broken table that piles onto the growing bonfire. Grunkalina is the main character of this story, just as she would claim she was in every campaign. Entirely due to the forceful wishing of her party, she assured. Was Grunkalina ever in a game I ran? Absolutely not. Was she a curse set upon my life sent from hell itself to punish me for my sins? Certainly. Today's story takes place and starts in the heart and home that we all know as RPG Horror Stories' own Discord. Names are, of course, changed to help keep identities private. We often see influxes of new members, and the day Grunkalina joined wasn't unlike any other. We said hellos, things are fine, we thought we were fine. Why wouldn't they be? How foolish. Naivety clouded our pitiful lives. Nothing was fine because we were wrong. Minutes in, and we began to learn the errors of our ways. Something wasn't to Grunkalina's taste like D&D. Garbage, she said. Your own personal views? Stupid, she said. Repeated as necessary until all opposing views were yelled over. She didn't like people that weren't her, you see. Why did she join the group? To cause mass suffering, I assume. Only a tip of the assholeberg, however. She had been in the group for maybe a couple hours just telling people they were wrong. Enough to throw in the towel and take a break, right? No, it was her first day, and she still hadn't consumed enough souls to return to hell for the night. She must feed on others she considers beneath her, which was all of us. We knew things were getting weird. The odd comment she dropped spoke volumes, but we didn't want to judge right away. Some of us knew when we'd see her decide to personally slight each of us when the chance arose. Sometimes it was just what she felt like sharing. Grunkalina, I'm ashamed. I derailed or destroyed so many. We show visible confusion. What does she mean she can't? Grunkalina, I've hijacked many campaigns. She does mean what we think she means. But we need to know, we have to ask us. In what way? Grunkalina, ended up BBG. Interesting. Concerning. Grunkalina, always worked it with the thread owners, but legitimate, you're not big bad evil guy incorrectly. Let me. Well, alright then. It won't be that bad if it's consensual with the GM, right? We moved on, or rather we tried. Grunkalina could sense we messed up, and it was required that we learn how much. Crom's lore had hopped into the beginning help channel to ask advice. A great idea, one might think. Knowledge is power. We all want to help. At least we thought we all wanted to help. Not Grunkalina. Grunkalina wanted to shit on someone that day. Having asked for his help and brought up a game idea for his players which involved cheese, Grunkalina had a single question for Crom's lore. Grunkalina, are you high? No one really thought much of it. It's just a silly comment, right? Wrong. We're idiots. We cannot see the 4D chess Grunkalina is playing. She continues. Grunkalina, this whole discussion is stupid and childish. She tells us that we must move the discussion of ideas away from the chat that is designed for them because she cannot fathom anyone running a game that isn't to her tastes. That ideas aren't on topic because they aren't serious enough. She's not playing the game, of course, but she will not stand for something different. That's just wrong, and we are wrong. Grunkalina, here, first on topic message in 2 hours. Don't dumb shit down for random lulls. That will get you on the sub. Lantern, are the players enjoying the game? Cromzor, I've been told that I DM with an energy of pure chaos that makes every session feel special and extra fun. Grunkalina, press X to doubt. Lantern, try not to get too overboard and maintain communication with your players. Cromzor, absolutely, I always put player enjoyment first. Grunkalina, or stop playing with 5th graders. Cromzor, I'm 22 and everyone else I play with is also about that age or older. Grunkalina, not mentally, obviously. Grunkalina continued to shit on people until the mods stepped in and called for her to stop. That was warning number 1 of the day. Yes, the first. Grunkalina was doing us justice by telling us how terrible we were. Another campaign idea came up elsewhere that disgusted Grunkalina. Ghosts. She gave it one read and declared that if she were to be a player, she'd get up and walk from the table because it was too absurd to have ghosts in a game. Can you imagine? Ghosts with owl bears and elves? Disgusting. She started to digress into trying to vaguely insult people, and the mods caught it yet again, giving warning number 2. During the warning, she continued to call the above ideas stupid, because we were too mentally lacking to understand how right she was. Obviously, we are brain dead, and she's the last bastion of hope for humanity. Our savior, a guiding light in the darkness. The first day it ended, we could breathe. We had survived with only a few casualties. And sadly, reading this story, it's all too common when it comes to public forums. I mean, everyone enjoys playing TTRPGs in their own way, but you would hope that a Discord, specifically for people who wanted to vent about RPG horror stories, and was hoping to find, friendly advice, better groups, so they don't have to relive those terrors, wouldn't have someone like Grunkalina. But unfortunately, sometimes a player like Grunkalina doesn't realize they're the problem, and they just think all their groups suddenly fall apart because, maybe they're bad at DMing, or, they got intimidated by their narrative and superior DMing prowess. So the campaign just fell apart when they started giving advice to save it. Usually just self-centered, delusional takes like that. I will say too, this is really well written. It really flows. I felt like doing a voice for Grunkalina just because I really couldn't resist with how the dialogue's being written. So I'm just going to keep doing it. So bear with me if you don't like it. Now back to the story. Opening up a little bit more, she began to regale us with tales of how much of a party mom she is. No, not the drinking kind. The kind that when a party of adventurers would adventure, she was there, momming for them. And you see, this is where she mentions how unfortunate she is to be forced by all her player companions to become the main character of nearly every game she plays in. Oh, you poor thing. They just force her to take the leading role, and they chant how she's the party mom. What a story. Remember how she said she was also the big bad evil guy in a majority of her games too? No odd vibes coming from that at all. She mentions it again when no one reacted before about just how great it is party momming. So fun. She describes it. Still not odd, nope. She goes on to be a hypocrite by saying that her one and only rule is having fun. Of course, when the previous topic in Beginner Help brought up how Cromzor's players were having fun, that was wrong because it wasn't her kind of fun. Duh. How could we be so stupid? She's the party mom, guys. She knows what fun players are allowed to do today. She always knows because it's only what she thinks is fun. Conversation shifts, days pass. People bring up their favorite races to play. Obviously, if you don't play anything with fur or scales, you're wrong. She explains as much. We are wrong again. She describes how playing human or dwarves or elves is wrong. It is boring, and she would rather gag on utensils, she says. You don't like sports yourself? You may be catching on at this point. You're wrong. Sports are godly, and if you don't like them, you're wrong. Time to insult people yet again that they aren't fun like she is. The party mom, the maker of fun. She just told you your opinion, and if you mention having a thought of any kind at all, she'll tell you no one wants to hear it. She will roll her emoji eyes at you because you're too stupid to realize you are wrong. Stop being wrong, and you would not be punished. Crow comes by to talk about his city, and she helps us to see the light. She, having never been there, declares what the city is actually like to the very local that she is speaking to, and tells Crow the truth. She obviously doesn't know, for he is too stupid and she is too smart. She understands all and has watched a YouTube video on the topic, and thus confirming her as the only expert on the planet. We know nothing. We bow at her superiority. She can recreate history and geography in a single sentence. She must be God. It was after this that out of nowhere she dropped a line, "I don't apologize for shit." Weird way of saying you're a massive asshole, but okay. She has gone a few days without directly shitting on anyone. It's nice. It seems like the warnings really helped to correct her behavior. Perhaps she's learning, and nope, the massive assholeberg resurfaces again. I was discussing my non-magical reflavoring of 5th edition to match modern-based games. Where magic for classes still exists, they're just rewritten to match the current technology of the desired setting. A fireball is a grenade and so on. Simple. Others and myself were talking about how it worked and how we all hated the idea of others just snipping magic out of 5th edition and calling it a day. Grunkalina's different opinion nerve is struck. She must speak up. You do a lot of mirror gazing then, mate. Grunkalina thinks it's funny and is showing me how much of an idiot I am. She claims that you cannot reword magic at all. That's impossible and wrong. I must be, because I'm not Grunkalina and only Grunkalina can ever be right. Grunkalina is not prepared for how much I was ready for her to start shit. I call her out and talk about how all her comments up until that point had been purely antagonistic and cruel, just like she is. Others immediately join in too, bringing up how she apparently did not read any prior conversation. Deacon tells her how she must be in the same category as a self-confessed sock puppet troll. Error. Reaction not found. She immediately calls for the moderators. Mods, seize this man. Alright, I added that line. More people join in. They call for the rudeness to stop, both me and her. Fair. I was out to cause damage, just as she was. We should both bear witness to the stats ruling. Grunkalina claims that she is not being rude at all. No one agrees with her. Grunkalina claims how she's being victimized. She says that she's irritated, she has to agree with me, or I put on my angry pants. I don't even need to speak anymore. People explain that no, it's not about agreeing, it's about her being an absolute piece of work to everyone and then crying wolf if they call her out on her soul-sucking parasitic endeavors. They ask for her to just be civil. She ignores it and claims she is not a sanity leech. People assure her that she is. Mods discuss muting her, but she gleefully exclaims that it doesn't work. Warning number 3, waxes and wanes. Yeah, you don't have a lot of control over who is in the Discord with you, so if the mods aren't doing anything, yeah, maybe it's best to create a second server. I mean, it's free. You guys can have discussions. You won't have any new faces come in, but you can definitely collect who you like and move your separate ways. But then again, it is a public Discord, so if you have a little fun and you get banned yourself along with Grunkalina, I guess no harm, no foul. So I would probably be guilty of messing with them a little bit too. You know, if the person was being this confrontational and I was just like casually typing in a Discord I could care less about. I guess you can argue that Grunkalina also could care less, but it sounds like they probably are free on most nights right now for campaigns, so I think they need this more than you do. Anyways, back to the story. Retreating for a bit and licking her wounds for the week, Grunkalina tries to go on the down low for a bit but cannot help herself. Immediately starts the fight with someone because they don't agree with her. We must all have our angry pants, it seems, because no one can get along with her. Perhaps it's because we are all too stupid to understand or converse with her. Peasants beneath her genius. We are scum, and how terrible it is to live such a terrible existence. People are, at the time, in chat and discussing their disabilities. They are calmly talking about what shortcomings they have and sharing their struggles in a constructive manner. Everyone is accepting and kind and generous. Grunkalina thinks it's the perfect time to drop, "This is rapidly devolving into a pity party." The mods have had enough of her dismissing other lives and experiences, and Grunkalina is immediately kicked. Happy server noises. Everyone congratulates the mods and thanks them for getting rid of the gremlin. Deacon has been collecting evidence on every shitty encounter she started, and it was condemning. We feel peace. The thanks continues on for almost an hour. Man, now I kind of want to read that evidence, but it doesn't matter because Grunkalina rejoins mid-celebration. She says nothing. Finally, the bottomless pit of antagonism has found a plug, and it turns out that the item needed was a humble pie. Karma exists. I mean, yeah, based on their conversations, we know they're a Redditor, so yeah. It takes a bit, but Grunkalina speaks again to this time shit on what she considers a fake moral support. She does not like it when she makes a self-shaming comment in public and someone says something nice. How dare someone try to be kind? That's wrong. But it's totally acceptable to put someone in an awkward position by saying inappropriate comments to a stranger. Yet again, the world can't keep up with their intelligence, because they just continue to be stupid and wrong. Having sucked the life from the topic, she returned to disabilities. As it turns out, she has some of her own, and this time she feels like talking about it without being rude. Maybe it's because she's finally the center of this conversation. Obviously, it's a crime against humanity to exist outside her bubble. This must be why she thought it was acceptable to shit on other disabled people. She just couldn't figure out how to shoehorn herself into that conversation. Don't get me wrong, talking about mental health is important, but it was very apparent that she didn't give a damn about others' mental health. After being previously kicked, Grunkalina semi-returned to normal. She mentions being a party mom and how she knows many things and that they are often the right things. We are wrong. Fortunately, she's not directly shitting on people and life is great. She's made progress and now says, "You're wrong, but valid opinion." It is around maybe 3 weeks into joining the server that she tries to change her name and picture to pretend to be someone else. But knowing exactly how she acts, everyone immediately catches on. Eventually, the topic of Fallout comes out. Some of us like the games but don't love them. This makes Grunkalina angry. She calls out our 6 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 ratings with a calm discussion as unfair hatred and our reasons not very strong. Because we aren't allowed to have varying tastes or opinions or lives. We are shadows to Grunkalina and we exist only for her. She drops from the conversation only to occasionally inject how she says she can't have an opinion or she'll get another kick or warning and how unfair it is. She adds that we must hate Bethesda because it's cool because there is no other option, regardless of us never claiming any such thing. She pretends to take things in stride, returning again to any topic to insert how much of a party mom she is. Just such a partier and a mom. Not a literal mother, just party mom. Teehee. Oh god, the horror. It was, at this time, very apparent to everyone that Grunkalina was a My Little Pony furry. Nothing wrong about being a furry, like what you like. Grunkalina, however, had an issue with one horror story involving furries. Someone had a furry make them uncomfortable. Grunkalina claimed that being a furry had nothing to do with that guy of the story being awful, which is true. Her argument was the color of the shirt doesn't reflect on the person, and that no one deserves to be punished for the color of their shirt. Great, we all agree. No more than 10 minutes later, someone else brings up a new horror story. This time, the horror story involves a fandom Grunkalina doesn't like. She says how the color of the shirt of that person is awful, and that person should be punished for liking something she doesn't. She demands they be killed in-game as punishment. The hypocrisy is brought up. She doubles down and claims that they deserve it for having such bad taste. She claims it's not the same thing, as her fandom is obviously more important and tragic, and that friendship is magic, I imagine, but didn't learn that lesson. And that people are making up things to attack her because she's just a victim. People move on, we try to forget, everyone is getting sick of her endless shit. It hasn't even been a full month, and no one wants to include her in conversations because she just shoehorns herself in to be a parasitic flesh devourer. She then makes the innocuous comment, "I'm pretty genial, nice, and tend to be quiet." This is a lie if I've ever seen one. I say no words, only emotions as I quote her with a shocked Pikachu face. She doesn't reply. The conversation shifts to someone discussing a horror story they were in that involves assault. The speaker was obviously highly uncomfortable in the game when it was played and was new to the group and just trying to share, but Grunkalina thought it was the perfect time to try and assert how right she was. She told the new guy how his inaction was wrong and how he should have stopped the assault in game and that he was right behind them in scale of blame. I didn't realize it was a party of two, but okay. How dare he be in an uncomfortable situation and be terrified and horrified? How dare he? He should have known better than to exist and have feelings of his own. I call her out for shitty victim blaming, and the cracks appear. Deacon has, at this time, already piled evidence after evidence to the mods of her behavior. She fake agrees, then jumps to trying to call me out for not putting up with her shit. How awful it was that I'm a rock that will not move. During her new rampage, she snaps at the guy she was previously blaming, Staff C's. The straw that broke the demon camel's back. There are seconds left before the end. The response is quick. I don't think she felt any pain. People weren't even aware that it happened until they heard whispers of it in passing, inklings of the final moments. That Grunkalina was finally banished back to the boundless abyss of hell, where it is believed that she's still lording over as the big bad evil guy, main character party mom. The only rule is that everyone needs to be having her definition of fun, obviously. And there concludes the story. story. I guess I'm glad that the mods eventually kicked her, but man, have that sigh of relief and then see that they were able to join back immediately. I would have been livid myself. I mean, maybe they were just living up to being a true big bad evil guy. You know, the first encounter where you think they take them out never really works, and then they only get stronger until you finally are able to confront them. I feel like in a way it felt like a true campaign, even though none of these people actually had a session together. And that's one of the takeaways I hope people have from this story. When you're looking for groups, you might run into people who are that guy, but the advice that people give about bad party dynamics at the game table really does apply to any LFG group or forum that talks about tabletop role-playing games as well. Yeah, you initially went to this place because you thought it'd be a really cool place where you could talk TTRPGs, you know, vent about horror stories, but sadly it appears that a horror story was brewing within the Discord itself, so the no D&D is better than bad D&D thing kind of applies here too. And again, this was a really fun read. Shameful I Am really has a way with words and it's a lot of fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed the story. I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and I hope to see you in the next video. Farewell for now.